Welcome to Inside the System, for the quietly brilliant and the deeply tired. The ones holding it all together while the system looks the other way. Here we don't sugarcoat, but we don't shame either. Just clarity, care, and the kind of truth that sets you free.
Hello everyone. Yesterday marked 10 years since I launched Kelvin Redd LLC. That's a big number. And I've been sitting with it, not just as a milestone, but as a mirror. 10 years of running a company is no small thing, especially when that company is built on something as vulnerable, as misunderstood, and as necessary as self-awareness. So today I want to reflect. Not in a flashy, motivational speaker kind of way. I want to speak plainly, directly, and with love. When I started this company in 2015, I didn't just want to run a business. I wanted to create something that helped people, something that helped leaders become more human. But very early on, I realized that if I was going to do this work, I'd have to walk a double path. The first path, master my craft. Study self-awareness more deeply. Understand servant leadership more deeply. Use Emergenetics, not just as a framework, but as a lens to help people see themselves more clearly. The second path, run a company, handle the emails, write the contracts, pay the bills, build relationships, maintain my integrity. And somehow, I had to braid those two paths together every single day. I'll tell you what surprised me most in these 10 years. It's how afraid some leaders are, most leaders honestly, to take the journey inward. You would think by now that leaders would want to connect with the minds of their people, not just their job titles, not just their productivity reports, their minds. You'd think they'd be curious. You'd think they'd want to know what really drives someone, what blocks someone, what fuels someone, but most don't. And that's not me being judgmental. That's just what I've seen, from classrooms to boardrooms, from principals to presidents. The resistance is real. Here's the part that gets me. The numbers back this up. Only 10 to 15% of people are self-aware, and 87% of Americans are disengaged in the workplace. 87%, that's not a small crack in the system, that's a crisis. And what's worse, many of the people leading these organizations don't realize they're part of the problem, or they realize it and don't want to do the internal work it would take to change. I've seen this across every sector I've worked in, but education hits me the hardest. You would think educators from the board on down would lead the way on this. You would think they'd say, let me do my own self-work so I can lead students and staff with clarity. But far too often, that's not the case. Now, don't get me wrong. There are exceptions, powerful ones. I repeat, there are exceptions, powerful ones. But I'm not here to name names for applause. I'm here to tell the truth. And the truth is, most organizations are trying to build engagement without starting where it actually begins, with self-awareness. That's the lesson. That's what 10 years has taught me more than anything else. If you skip self-awareness, you are building on sand. If you don't know who you are, you can't lead anyone anywhere worth going. If you don't understand your own triggers, patterns, and projections, you will cause harm, even if you don't mean to. If you don't start with clarity, you'll spend the rest of your leadership life reacting instead of responding. This is why I use Emergenetics. Not because it's trendy, not because it sells well, but because it gives leaders language. It gives them a starting point, a mirror. And that mirror, for many people, is the first real look they've had at themselves in years. That's where the change begins. Not in a PowerPoint deck, not in a keynote, not in a compliance training. It begins when someone says, wait a minute, I've been leading people without really knowing myself. That moment is sacred. I've come to realize something else too. I don't want to chase people into transformation. I want to speak to people who want to listen. I want to attract the ones who are hungry to grow, the ones who are done performing and ready to align. Because here's the thing, when people are ready, the work becomes holy. When people are not ready, it becomes performative. And I'm not here to perform. I'm here to help people come home to themselves. In these 10 years, I've worked with Fortune 500 leaders, school superintendents, college presidents, small business owners, nonprofits, and government agencies. I've seen excellence, I've seen dysfunction, I've seen courage, I've seen fear, and through all of it, my mission has stayed the same, to help leaders see themselves clearly so they can lead others with integrity. So if you're watching this and you're thinking about launching a leadership development program at your school, your company, your agency, hear me clearly. If you don't start with self-awareness, you are doomed to fail in the long run. You may get short-term results. You may see a bump in morale. You may even win some awards. But over time, it will collapse because the foundation is cracked. The only real foundation is the internal one. I've seen great intentions fall apart because the leader never did their own work. And I've seen average leaders become great because they finally looked inward. This work matters. It matters for employees. It matters for students. It matters for communities. And it matters for the leaders themselves because burnout, disconnection, and loneliness are all rooted in the same thing, lack of internal alignment. So here I am, 10 years in, still learning, still stretching, still believing. My goal has never been to change the whole world. My goal has been to put a dent in it, a meaningful one, a lasting one, and I'll keep showing up for as long as I can, doing just that. Because I believe that real leadership starts with self-awareness. And when you build with that, you build something that lasts. Thank you for being part of this journey. Here's to 10 more.
Thanks for watching and listening to Inside the System. This space is for you, the ones doing the real work, even when it goes unseen. Remember, you don't have to shrink to survive. Speak truth, move smart, and protect your power. If this episode spoke to you, share it with a friend or teammate who needs it, and make sure to follow, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss what's next. Until next time.